Unexplained deaths, families and children being threatened, and federal agents being used like pawns. This is only a small look at the terrifying methods Epstein allegedly used to silence his victims. Now Katt Williams is speaking out and exposing what was happening behind closed doors. People are asking how nearly 3 million files could be released without a single arrest being made, and why no real investigation ever happened even after Epstein was reported almost a decade earlier. Back in 1996, a young woman became the very first victim to officially report Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to the authorities. But in a disturbing pattern that would continue for years, her complaint...
They just kept it all quiet, put it in the bottom drawer. And they were so dismissive that I just felt daunted and I stopped.
But by going to police, Maria felt the full force of Maxwell's fury. Terrified, Maria went into hiding and gave up her art career. What sort of threats has she made against you?
Originally, it started with things like, I'm going to burn your art, and then I'm going to burn your career, and then I'm going to burn you and the house you live in. And then it was, oh, be careful crossing a street. You can get shot in the back of the head. They were threats against my life. And I told the FBI this.
Hundreds of victims are named throughout the Epstein files, yet not a single major arrest connected to the powerful people around him has ever been made. Many victims were allegedly pressured into staying silent about the elite figures who spent time with Epstein, while Ghislaine Maxwell was said to be controlling everything from behind the scenes. Emails, flight records, and bank statements included in the Epstein files reportedly show that Maxwell played a central role in recruiting victims and making sure they stayed quiet. Some victims claimed they were followed, their families were threatened, and whenever Maxwell believed someone might speak out, those same individuals would later die under mysterious and unexplained circumstances. What shocked many people even more was that these disturbing events allegedly continued even after Maxwell was arrested. On June 28, 2022, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein in illegal activities involving minors, along with receiving a $750,000 fine.
Abusing these little girls, they would then stalk them for the rest of their life and continue to verbally assault over the phone and just in person and anywhere that they could find them. They would follow these girls around for the rest of their life. Epstein's people continued to find her and would have tabs on her, calling her numbers to threaten her and continue to harass her for the rest of her life. She said that since the threats began, there have been 4 to 5 close calls where she was almost run off the road. Multiple cars, not just one, multiple.
There have been reports claiming that bodies may be buried at several locations connected to Epstein, including Little St. James Island and his Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. According to these allegations, the bodies could belong to victims that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were trying to silence and get rid of permanently. Investigators have reportedly been searching Epstein's Zorro Ranch for the remains of 2 young girls who were allegedly killed, according to reports from the Daily Mail. The investigation reportedly began after an email surfaced claiming that a former staff member had information suggesting the 2 girls were buried somewhere outside the ranch property.
So many unanswered questions surrounding what went on at Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch property in New Mexico. And a group of lawmakers tasked with finding those answers say they're building the team to do it. News 13's Jessica Baron is live in the Newsplex with that story.
The Truth Commission was established during this year's legislative session to investigate Epstein's activities and ties in New Mexico. Democratic Representative Andrea Romero is one of the members of the commission and says she's confident about what they'll accomplish.
The Truth Commission is set up to bring justice to survivors, to get an official government record around what happened at the ranch.
A massive property in Santa Fe County has now become infamous because of disturbing allegations that it may have been a center for serious abuse. The mystery surrounding what allegedly took place at Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch, along with questions about who may have been involved, has left people across the country demanding real answers. Because of the growing pressure, New Mexico lawmakers created a Truth Commission during the legislative session to investigate the claims more deeply. Members of the commission say they are now putting together a team of legal experts to lead the investigation and review the evidence. Representative Andrea Romero, who is part of the Truth Commission, explained that they have already opened requests for proposals to hire specialists who will go through thousands of records and documents connected to the case.
I'm heartened by the idea that having a full slate of folks working with us through this investigation, we're going to have things to report by the end of the year. The question is, if we need more time, going into the next session, can that be granted if needed?
One of the clearest examples of a victim allegedly being silenced is Virginia Giuffre. Virginia was among the first women to file a lawsuit against Epstein and provide physical evidence, including photographs that appeared to connect Epstein to powerful elites such as Prince Andrew from the British royal family. Many people believe Virginia's testimony was the main reason Prince Andrew faced major legal and public consequences. In 2019, only weeks before the Epstein files were officially released, Virginia announced that she was writing a book revealing the names of people she claimed to have seen on Epstein's island and aboard his private jet, widely known as the Lolita Express. Not long after making that announcement, Virginia posted on social media saying she had been receiving threats from unknown individuals, warning her about what could happen if she continued speaking publicly. Despite the pressure, Virginia refused to stay silent, but before the book could ever be released, she was reportedly struck by a truck in a sudden incident. Although she survived the crash, reports later claimed that she died only days afterward, which caused even more suspicion online. What made the situation even more unsettling was a message Virginia had posted shortly before her death, where she openly spoke about fears of being silenced. In the post, she wrote that she wanted it publicly known that she was not suicidal in any way, and had informed both her therapist and doctor of that fact, adding that if anything happened to her, people should not let the truth disappear, because, according to her, too many powerful and evil individuals wanted to keep her quiet.
Welcome back and Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Breaking news coming in, some sad news to share. We're learning this from the New York Post, several other outlets reporting this as well. Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of the late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, took her own life on Thursday. This is just weeks after she made headlines for saying that she had days to live after she claimed to have been hit by a bus. A statement given to NBC News was quoted as such from the 41-year-old's family. It says, "It's with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia. She lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and sex trafficking." The New York Post says that Giuffre took legal action against billionaire financier Epstein in 2015, alleging that she was sex trafficked at age 16 after his ex-lover and convicted Madam Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her from her job as a locker room attendant at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. The mom of 3, according to the Post, also alleged that she was forced to have sex with disgraced Prince Andrew 3 times when she was 17, including at Epstein's Little St. James Island in New Mexico, and in Maxwell's London home, where a notorious photo of her with King Charles' eldest brother was taken. The Post says the allegations became the biggest scandal to rock the royal family in a generation. Again, hearing of the sad news just within the past hour, Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, taking her own life on Thursday. It was announced on Friday, her death. She was 41 years old, her family confirming this.
Then she comes out publicly and says, "It was intended to be a private message. My excuse, thank you." No, just on that, I have 5 days to live. And then a month later, or how about 3 weeks later, she's dead by suicide. Nothing about this story makes any sense whatsoever, any more than I'm expected to believe that Epstein killed himself. She also previously had tweeted, "If ever I'm not suicidal," although I think whenever someone takes to social media to say that, unironically, there's something going on. She posted a while back. We were on the cusp of Epstein documents being released, seeing clients on that list. Virginia Giuffre is the most credible of the last of the living witnesses, the last public of the witnesses. And instead of the release of the documents, we have the death of the most prominent living testament to the horrors of the Epstein, Ghislaine, Prince Andrew, allegedly human trafficking ring. So none of it makes any sense. I don't believe that she took her own life. People are going to say whether or not she's even dead. If she wants to disappear from the face of the earth, this is how you do it, because maybe she just wants to not deal with this anymore. But I won't believe ever that she deliberately took her life.
This is where the story takes an even darker turn, because Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly was not the only person involved in discrediting and silencing victims. Emails found in the Epstein files, along with court documents connected to Maxwell's prosecution, reportedly suggest that Epstein worked closely with several powerful individuals behind the scenes. According to those claims, Maxwell allegedly made secret deals involving nearly 25 celebrities in order to keep damaging information hidden and prevent people from speaking publicly. An investigative journalist now believes that one of those celebrities may have already been identified through newly filed court documents. Maxwell, the former associate of Jeffrey Epstein who was convicted of trafficking minors and sentenced to 20 years in prison, has reportedly claimed that at least 25 men connected to Epstein were protected through confidential settlements and private agreements that were never revealed during her trial. She also claimed there were 4 additional alleged co-conspirators who were never officially charged. Naturally, this has raised serious questions about whether she is telling the truth and, if she is, who exactly these people are and whether the public will ever learn their identities. Katt Williams himself pointed to several names, with one of the first being Chris Tucker. During the Department of Justice document release, photos surfaced showing Chris Tucker and former President Bill Clinton aboard Jeffrey Epstein's private jet. Reports claimed that Tucker traveled to Africa in 2002 on what was described as a humanitarian mission alongside Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton, and Kevin Spacey, while flying on Epstein's plane. Epstein was later accused of recruiting a victim during that same trip, and according to the allegations, that victim was the person who eventually provided authorities with Chris Tucker's name.
The Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker, not Smokey.
Oh, Lord.
Whew. If I didn't know no better, I'd tell you he's the greatest. I don't care what you say. To be confident and not delusional is a real skill. Most of these confident people we see is really delusional.
Another name that has been linked to the allegations is Harvey Weinstein. According to the claims being discussed, Weinstein was allegedly helping Epstein recruit more victims behind the scenes. Katt Williams has referenced Harvey Weinstein several times in past interviews and has hinted that Weinstein was not actually the one in control, but instead may have been answering to someone even more powerful. More recently, Katt suggested that the person Weinstein could have been reporting to was possibly Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Supplier, Epstein, Weinstein, like these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it, and provided the way for you to to have $1 billion and not create a fantasy island type environment has not existed throughout history.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I was going to run some global power organization, I would try to co-opt every single leader, try to suck them in, offer support, bring them out to wherever the fuck I have my big ass meetings, fly everybody in private jets to talk about the climate crisis.
All organizations have to follow the same rules.
Yeah. That's wild.
Recruitment is an important facet of all.
We have to get some young global leaders.
Well, understand, this is the only reason that we can talk about these big Illuminati-like entities at this period of time. It's just because of time. They aged out. You can't get in new, so everybody got decrepit over there, and they can't exchange, really.
We can actually see examples of how victims and insiders were allegedly pressured into staying silent throughout Hollywood. When Katt Williams began refusing to go along with the powerful elites he believed were controlling the industry, he claims he was blackballed, threatened, and pushed out of major opportunities. According to Katt, even after all of that pressure, he still refused to stay quiet, and he says those same powerful people eventually tried to come after his children as well.
No, this is their 9th time coming to my house. The problem was this time they came to my office and took my kids from an office. Not from my house, from an office. So now when I can't have my kids at my office,
that's an issue.
I must be the most terrible black dude. Because here's the whole thing. You gonna charge me with child endangerment? After I adopted 7 children and had them for 14 years in this state?
Really? You coming after my kids now? Because it was already a witch hunt. Now you want my babies?
Most people probably would have walked away after facing that kind of pressure, but not Katt Williams. For years, Katt has continued speaking out about what he believes really happens behind the scenes in Hollywood. He was one of the first entertainers to openly suggest that actors and performers could allegedly be targeted if they refused to obey the powerful elites running the industry. According to Katt, once the entertainment business realizes it can no longer control you, it begins cutting you off completely. He also claimed that some performers tied to contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars end up dying unexpectedly, allowing production companies to escape those agreements without paying out the money. In Katt's view, whenever a celebrity suddenly dies under strange circumstances, it can sometimes be a sign that they were being silenced.
In order for the type of ratings we need and attention to be on this thing. See, what I'm saying is, in business, nothing is coincidental, or you will be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up. So they killed this $20 million guy, but they reaped $60 million in benefits.
Wow.
And they had some people from your city do it.
Wow.
I'm saying there's the good side and the bad side of these businesses.
But think about what you just think about what you just said. That's extremely thoughtful and powerful.
Some investigative journalists have even suggested that Ellen may have been involved in allegedly silencing victims within Hollywood. It has also been widely claimed that her name appears more than 300 times in the Epstein files, which has only added more speculation and debate around her possible connections.
That the Epstein files reveal Ellen DeGeneres as, and I'm quoting this directly from the Post's, Hollywood's most prolific cannibal, that she consumed human flesh. People are sharing distorted images of her face, writing paragraphs about underground dystopias, calling her a vampire. Now, these are completely unfounded claims with no evidence to back them up. So let's take a look at what's actually in the files. Ellen DeGeneres is named in the Epstein documents, and that part is real. Her name appears in the broader index of over 300 high-profile individuals that show up across the investigative materials. Flight logs, communications, third-party interviews, peripheral records.
As for what she allegedly did, some reports point to mysterious deaths and also the timing of her show coming to an end. In 2022, just 1 month after Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to prison, Ellen reportedly ended her long-running show. By the end of that same year, Stephen T. Witchboss, who was Ellen's co-producer and also described as her close friend for many years, and Anne Hetch, who was connected to her circle, both died under highly mysterious circumstances. It was also claimed that Stephen T. Witchboss left a note before his death, where he allegedly mentioned that his time working on The Ellen Show had become a major burden on him, and that it pushed him toward taking some...
We're learning more tonight about the tragic side of Stephen Witchboss and the detailed steps he took to hide his plans. TMZ is reporting when Twitch left his home the day before his he took an Uber to a motel about a mile away. At the motel, he switched his phone to airplane mode so no one could reach him. The motel manager says he checked in under his own name and never left his room. We also now know that Twitch left his note. Details have not been made public, but TMZ reports the note alluded to challenges Twitch had faced in the past. Entertainer Tyler Perry knows firsthand what that is like.
I want to take you back to a time in my life where I tried to commit suicide a couple of times because it was so dark. I thought the only way to make this better, this pain go away, is to end my life. Had any of those attempts happened, I would have missed the best part of my life.
The worst part of the story is that, according to these claims, the threats and control are still ongoing. It is also alleged that Ghislaine Maxwell is living a very comfortable life behind bars compared to what people would normally expect from a prison sentence. Reports say she even received a visit from the Deputy Attorney General and the current Acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche. Shortly after that meeting, she was reportedly transferred to a minimum security prison camp in Bryan, Texas. This facility is very different from a standard prison, as it includes dorm-style housing, minimal fencing, and a much lower staff-to-inmate ratio than her previous location.
More, and we're almost out of time. I do want to ask you about Ghislaine Maxwell, who was, of course, convicted in 2021 for her role in helping Jeffrey Epstein his victims. In July, you interviewed her in Florida, where she was serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison. Just a week later, Maxwell was moved to a more permissive prison camp in Texas. Why was she moved just days after you interviewed her, Mr. Blanche?
So that's a Bureau of Prison Security issue that I will not talk about.
Did you have anything to do with it? Did you have anything to do with it?
Let me finish. First of all, I am responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So every decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue. At the time that I met Ms. Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity towards her, and the institution she was in, she was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail and making sure they stay in jail, but also for their safety. And so she was moved. She is in federal prison. She was in federal prison before. She's in federal prison now. She's doing 20 years because she was convicted. And the fact that she was moved, she might be moved to another institution tomorrow if security requires it. And that's true of any federal inmate across this country.
There is also a suspicious pattern, according to these claims, where federal authorities are seen as not properly helping the victims. First, Maria Farmer's report was reportedly ignored when she came forward. Now, FBI files are said to show that one of Epstein's top recruiters, Jean-Luc Brunel, allegedly offered to cooperate and expose the entire network in exchange for immunity. However, it is claimed that the Department of Justice did not act on this offer, and instead he was left in custody until he was later found dead in prison under unclear circumstances.
This was an FBI file that says one of Epstein's, it says what appears to say BFs, best friends perhaps, Jean-Luc Brunel, has, quote, helped get girls. He is wanting to cooperate. And it goes on to discuss a plan for that and that he's hired a lawyer and how that would work. And so these are notes that date all the way back to a period where Brunel was believed to have considered cooperating. If you haven't heard of him, if you haven't followed this case as closely, he's one of the key officials because he held himself out as a kind of modeling scout. He did, and that's debated over whether he was actually a alleged worker, but that was one of the tools they would use. He went into businesses that had arrangements with Epstein. He was on the flights a lot. So his name was one of those that had been around before.
We are also, according to these claims, being kept from the truth. To understand how much information is allegedly being hidden, there are emails released by the Department of Justice in which Epstein is reportedly seen discussing victims with other powerful individuals. However, these documents do not clearly identify the people involved, as their names are not revealed. In fact, it is claimed that hundreds of thousands of files have been heavily redacted, making it impossible to know who may be responsible and keeping those individuals from being exposed.
Question: which one do you prefer, lewd and lascivious conduct or procuring money? I suppose lewd and lascivious conduct. I would prefer lewd and lascivious conduct with a if possible. That exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell on May 23rd, 2008 is part of some 18,000 emails from Epstein's personal Yahoo account obtained by Bloomberg News.
The emails, which suggest the inbox was most active between 2005 and 2008, include messages spanning 2002 to 2022. Epstein died in 2019, and emails received after that are largely spam or marketing offers. Overall, the emails offer a raw look into the disgraced financier and world. While this inbox wasn't the only one he used, the newly uncovered emails do suggest how central Maxwell was to his life. Something that contradicts her telling of events. She's characterized herself as a former girlfriend and property manager for Epstein, not someone with eyes into his vast influence machine or sex. She's currently serving a 20-year sentence for conspiring with Epstein to. Maxwell was central to curating Epstein's inner circle, according to these emails.
In some emails, she's organizing visits with the likes of Sergey Brin and his then-girlfriend Anne Wojcicki.
There are reports suggesting that Epstein himself may have been nothing more than a pawn or just one small part of a much larger system. Recently, an old interview with Ghislaine Maxwell went viral, where she was said to have confirmed what many people have been claiming all along, that Epstein was silenced in order to protect the powerful elites connected to him from being exposed. So far, it is claimed that more than 400 influential individuals from around the world have been linked to Epstein's network. This has led to speculation about how many more names might have come out if Epstein had not been silenced and had been allowed to speak freely. It is also claimed that around 3 million redacted files contain related information, and that this still represents only a portion of what was actually recovered.
Fox News alert: the Department of Justice just dropped last month's jailhouse interview with Epstein Madam Ghislaine Maxwell. And it's a doozy. First, she doesn't think Epstein himself.
So you think he did not die by suicide, given all the things we just talked about?
I do not believe he died by suicide, no.
And do you believe that, do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
And what about Epstein's infamous client list? Did he even have a list?
You never observed, or you never saw any sort of list or black book or a list of individuals who, linked to certain masseuses or
Absolutely
anything
not.
like that?
Absolutely no. There is no list. I'm not aware of any blackmail. I never heard that. I never saw it, and I never imagined it.
The list doesn't exist? So flight manifests don't exist? The surveillance tapes don't exist? The bank records don't exist? Well, what about Trump? The media spent the last couple months trying to smear him as Epstein's predator pal.
I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never. In any context.
A good portion of the interview focused on Bill Clinton. Author Daniel Halper told Primetime Clinton was romantically involved with Maxwell. Would Ghislaine sell out her old flame? And she was asked about Bill and said he never did anything inappropriate and that Bill never went to Epstein's island. But Epstein victim, Virginia Guffrey, who's now deceased, said in a deposition she saw Clinton on Epstein's island with 2 other women. So it's a she said, she said.
It is also alleged that Epstein left behind a suicide note containing more details about who he believed was targeting him. But that document is now sealed and not accessible to the public.
A note allegedly written by Jeffrey Epstein has been kept locked up in a New York courthouse for nearly 7 years. That's according to new reporting from the New York Times. The report alleges Epstein's cellmate found the note in July 2019 when the convicted offender was found unresponsive in his cell with cloth around his neck. Epstein survived that incident and accused his cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, of assaulting him. Records show a week after that accusation, Epstein told officials he had no issues with Tartaglione and felt safe with him. Epstein was found dead weeks later in what was ruled a suicide. The Times reports Tartaglione recalled the note saying, "Time to say goodbye." The note was left out of any investigation into Epstein's death due to being sealed as part of the cellmate's own criminal case. It was not mentioned in the official investigations into Epstein's death. The Justice Department tells the New York Times the agency has not seen the note.
The Epstein case was never just about one man. According to Katt Williams, the deeper story is said to involve celebrities, federal protection, intimidation, and victims who were allegedly silenced before they could expose powerful people connected to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. From mysterious deaths to hidden files and alleged cover-ups, the more people dig into this case, the darker it appears to become. However, now more whistleblowers and investigators are speaking out, and the internet is beginning to connect the dots. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments what you think is really being hidden in the Epstein files.